I'm going to make this video for what is hopefully the last time. It feels like it's about the 30th time I've tried to record this, and I haven't had one that I'm happy with, so we're going to go with this one. This is going to be a review of the Borg Warner S300 SX3 turbocharger that is on my 6.5. Quick summary of the vehicle: 2500 four-wheel drive, 6-inch lift, 35s. It's got an old Heath HX35 tune in it currently. Big lift pump, 100 gallons per hour Raptor, 12 PSI all the time. Big fuel lines, whatever. 373 gears, like I said, 35s. So the specs on the turbo: it's a 6068 091 T4 housing, non-gated. The turbo that I had on previously was a 6060 16 T3 non-gated whole set. Both of these turbos are a divided exhaust housing. So this turbo is bigger than the one that was on it previously. It behaves like a turbo that was bigger than the one on it previously. That is to say, it's laggy at times. EGTs are a little bit high at times. The key with this turbo is you have to get it going quick. Meaning, if you're rolling onto, say, like a highway entrance ramp, you got to nail it. If you can get the turbo spooling, then you kind of have to really push it to crack 1,000 degrees on the exhaust temp. It'll make 22 psi all day long on this setup. So if you can get it going, it runs pretty well. However, if you kind of roll into it, then it peaks out at like 12 or 15 pounds of boost, and 1,000 degrees comes and goes pretty quickly. So I'll show you an example. I'm not going to stuff it, and you can kind of watch everything play out here. So that was actually ran pretty well on that hill. And the thing that I found is that if you can keep the truck over, in my case, over 2300 RPM, then the turbo's pretty happy. 6.5s, in my opinion, do not lug very well, especially not when they have a big turbo on them the way this one is. So if you can keep the RPMs up and if you can keep your speed up, the truck runs pretty darn well, honestly, with it. I think it has a better top end than it did with the whole set. Certainly better than the HX35 and the A-Team that I've run previously. I've not run either of the Quad-Star turbos, the 54 or the 60, so I cannot comment on those. I've only seen videos of how they run, and they seem to run quite well. I went with this turbo mostly because of price. At the time, I was not in a position to shell out 11 or 12 or 1,300 bucks on one of the Quad-Star turbos, though I would have liked to. One of the appeals of this turbo being that it's what's referred to as a box turbo, aka it's a pre-configured turbo. You can't, you can customize it to an extent, but that's what jacks the price up. It's $699. So full disclosure, it was $699. I paid like 80 or 100 bucks for a T3, T4 adapter, and then like 50 for a clamp for my downpipe adapter. So all said and done, I was into it for like $8 or $8.50, and I wanted to go this route versus a Chinese HX40 because with this way, one, you know what you're getting. Two, I can buy it from my local guy rather than going on eBay, and three, it's a genuine American company that you're dealing with, as opposed to some overseas crap where it's put together with God only knows what kind of quality parts. So all said, all told, I like the turbo. I'm committed to it financially, so it's not coming off anytime soon. My only gripe about it would be the lagginess. when you have to kind of roll into it. The whole set was a little bit more forgiving, I think, with the smaller exhaust housing and the smaller exhaust wheel. I think it was able to handle, that lower RPM spool up a little bit better. But I don't think it quite has the top end that this turbo does, and I think eventually it would have been kind of a limiting factor, whereas I feel like, people make big power on S300s, like way bigger than this truck will ever make with this engine, at least. Having it with a T4 means that if I need to sell it, T4 is a little bit more common than T3 in most cases. So, there's that as well that you want to consider. My next point that I'm going to talk about is the follow-up to this will be the installation and review of a new exhaust housing that I have ordered for it. So this exhaust housing is an 091 AR. I can't, there's no comparison AR to centimeters squared, but visually it looks it looks comparable to like a whole set, like an 18 or a 20 off like an H1C visually. That's not to say the guts of it are anywhere the same, but just in case you don't know what S300s look like, if maybe you know what whole sets looks like, they look kind of like an 18 or a 20. The exhaust housing rather that I have coming for it is an aftermarket from Boost Lab. It's an 081, still T4, but non-divided, also referred to as like an open scroll. So I went with this because I figure everyone says T4 flows better. On a truck like this, I can't imagine that really matters, but if given the choice between flowing better and flowing worse, I'll pick the one that flows better. Open scroll, because the truck is open scroll, the truck is not divided. If this were like a center mount system where you have two individual headers that come up through their own up pipes and they don't collect anywhere, then divided would be the way to go. However, on a setup such as this, where you've got, the two manifolds meet, and then there's the crossover pipe, and then they all kind of collect on the passenger side manifold. It's an open flange system, so I may as well match that with an open scroll turbo to reduce turbulence and help flow and whatnot. And then the 081, I'm told, I don't know how much I believe this until I see it, but I'm told that an 081 is similar to an 11 centimeter housing. To me, that's a stretch, so I'll be interested to see what it looks like when it gets here. 11 is small. An HX35, for example, is 12. If this happens to be truthfully similar to an 11 centimeter housing, I think it's going to perform quite well, because it'll still have the flow of a bigger housing. It'll be an open scroll versus divided. So I'm looking forward to getting that on here and seeing kind of what kind of performance we can get out of the truck, and I will make a follow-up video at that point as well. So in conclusion, because I'm going to wrap this up, it's long enough. If you're trying to buy a turbo on the cheap that is better than China, it's going to cost you $850 plus or minus to put this S300 on your truck. I would only recommend doing that if you have a tune and a lift pump and things to support it. I don't believe it would run that well on stock tuning. My truck, 373s and 35s, it runs fairly well. I would imagine with stock tires and 410s, it would also run pretty well. So I'd say it's a viable option. I would also say that for $300 more, give or take, you can bolt on a Quadstar Super 54, and you're getting something that is designed to run on this truck. You're getting something that works, that has a warranty, that you can back up. John's got easily as good customer service as anyone else I've ever dealt with. So for me, it's a toss-up. If you're already spending $850 to spend $12, I didn't do it because I just didn't have the extra money, but if I was in a position to, I would have considered it, definitely. By the time this new housing is on the turbo, I'm going to be into this thing for like almost $1,100, so it's almost a moot point. So I like the turbo. It's not going anywhere. I'm happy with it. Would I buy it again? Maybe. It's really based on your preferences, what you use the truck for, what's done to the truck, things like that. So I'll follow up and let everyone know what I think once the new housing's on, but that's it for now. Thanks for watching.